Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're embarking on a really fascinating exploration. We're looking into the genesis of sentient life and humanity itself, drawing from, well, quite an ancient and expansive source, Stanza VII of H.P. Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine.
Yeah, and you can think of this as maybe your express route, perhaps, to understanding a profoundly different perspective on where we all come from. You know, we're not just looking at biology here.
Yeah.
It's more a philosophical tapestry, really, woven from threads of Hinduism, Buddhism, Kabbalism, even echoes of Egyptian mythology are in there.
Exactly. So your mission, if you choose to stick with us, and obviously you have, is to get a good grasp of the fundamental ideas in Stanza VII, specifically about life's origins, human evolution. Get ready for some, well, surprising connections, perspectives that might just shift how you see things a bit. So our core question for this deep dive: what are the fundamental principles outlined in Stanza VII regarding the origin and evolution of life and humanity? Okay, let's dive in. Starting with a big concept: hierarchical emanation. What's the essential idea?
Right. So the central idea is that the universe and really everything in it unfolds from a single ultimate source, the absolute, it's often called.
Okay.
And it's not like a poof, sudden creation. It's more of a gradual descent, creative energies moving from, you know, the most refined spirit realms down into denser matter.
Like ripples spreading out.
Sort of, yeah. Or like a light source casting shadows, maybe. Shadows of increasing complexity as you move further away.
And it's not random, is it? Stanza 7 mentions the 1 from the mother spirit, the 3 from the 1, the 4 from the 1, and the 5 downward.
That sounds very structured.
Oh, absolutely deliberate. This numerical sequence, it signifies the step-by-step manifestation of different levels of reality, of consciousness. It's like a cosmic blueprint.
A blueprint, okay. Yeah, where each number is a distinct stage or category of being. And this brings us to the Shining Seven, or the Builders.
Ah, yes, the Builders.
What's really interesting is their role. They're described as these constant overseers.
Mind-born sons of the First Lord Avalokitesvara. That name certainly resonates, you know, with compassion in some traditions. So these builders are like pervasive guardians, overseeing Earth, all living things.
That's a pretty good way to visualize it, yeah. Think of them as incredibly advanced spiritual entities guiding the evolution of the cosmos and, well, everything in it.
Like cosmic project managers.
Ha! You could say that. And within this huge hierarchy, there are different orders of beings, each one with its own nature, its own function.
Right, okay. We have the divine flames, then the second order, third order. It does feel a bit like a celestial family tree, lots of branches. Can you give us a sense of what these different orders are doing?
Sure. So the divine flames, they're the most ethereal, the most energetic, the very essence, you could say, of the highest spiritual worlds. A bit like the upper Sephiroth in Kabbalah.
Okay, pure energy.
Pretty much. Then, the second order brings in fire and ether. Think spirit and soul at Mabudi. These act as the original templates for individual spiritual entities, the monads. They provide that initial spark of divine consciousness.
What spark?
The third order then combines spirit, soul, and intellect at Mabudi Manas. The triads gives a bit more definition.
Okay, so we're seeing a definite progression. Pure spirit, then templates, then adding intellect. What happens with the fourth order?
Right, the fourth order. This brings in more substantial entities. They're called rupas, described as the nursery of human conscious spiritual souls.
The nursery. Interesting term.
Isn't it? These are the enduring individualities, the imperishable jivas. They hold the potential for conscious thought, and they even play a role, it suggests, in how traits are passed down. Hereditary transmission.
Wow, okay. So a spiritual dimension to inheritance. That's quite different.
It is thought-provoking, isn't it? Going beyond just physical genetics.
Definitely. And then we hit the fifth group, associated with Manas, the mind principle, and all this intriguing symbolism, the pentagon, the crocodile, or dragon.
Yeah, the symbols are fascinating. The pentagon, the five-pointed star, has long been linked with humanity, with the microcosm, and the crocodile or dragon Makara in Sanskrit, or the Egyptian Sibak, symbolizes Manas.
The thinking part.
Exactly, the intelligent aspect, the human soul. And the Egyptian angle is interesting, too. It illustrates this idea that after physical death, the essence of our mind, our manas, merges back with the higher principles at Mabudi into what they called Sekhem, or Sekten.
It's amazing how these ancient symbols and concepts weave together. So after the fifth, we have the sixth and seventh groups. They sound like they're getting closer to, well, to us, to the material world.
Yes, exactly. These are the lower rungs, more involved with the physical side of existence. They include conscious ethereal beings, you might call them nature spirits or elementals.
Like fairies and sprites, that kind of thing.
Sort of in that category, yeah, but perhaps viewed more as functional parts of nature's processes. And it even includes what are termed spirits of atoms.
Spirits of atoms. So even atoms have some kind of sentience.
That's the key insight here. From this perspective, sentience isn't just for animals and humans. It permeates all levels of being, right down to the atomic.
That paints a picture of a deeply interconnected universe, alive in ways we don't usually think about.
Very much so. And crucially, all these beings, no matter where they are in the hierarchy, from the divine flames down to the elementals, they're all subject to karma. They all evolve through cycles.
So no one's exempt. Even these high beings are learning, evolving.
Precisely. There's no permanent, static perfection in this view. Everyone learns through experience. And here's a really mind-bending part. The most advanced humans of our current cycle are destined to become the guiding hierarchy for the next great cycle, the next Manvantara.
Wow. Talk about a long-term career path. Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Stanza 7 also introduces the life thread, the Sutratma. What is this?
The Sutratma. It's described poetically as the life ray, the one like a thread through many beads.
Beads on a string.
Exactly. It represents the continuous stream of consciousness, the core identity that links our successive lifetimes. It also connects generations. It's the underlying I that persists even as our personalities, the beads, change.
And this isn't just poetry, is it? The text seems to parallel it with spiritual plasm, guiding embryonic development, heredity, almost an alternative to purely Darwinian ideas.
Yes, it definitely suggests a deeper spiritual influence on our physical form and inheritance, going beyond or perhaps underlying the material mechanisms of, say, natural selection regarding acquired characteristics. It points to inherent qualities passed along this thread. The text even mentions 5 virtues needed to fructify the seed of the animal man, highlighting a spiritual need for us to truly flourish.
This leads nicely into humanity's composite origin and our sevenfold nature. It sounds like we're seen as much more than just biology in this framework.
Oh, absolutely. Our origin is depicted as a collaboration.
Yeah.
Various hierarchical beings we just talked about chip in.
A group project.
You could say that. The Elohim of life, or Pitris, provide the initial blueprint, the form. Then other ancestors, described as lower Dhyanis, or spirits of the earth, they contribute the more physical aspect.
Okay.
And then other divine beings come in to imbue us with our moral, psychic, and spiritual qualities.
So we really are like a mosaic, built from contributions from different spiritual sources.
That's a great way to put it. And this relates directly to our complex sevenfold constitution.
Right, the 7 principles. Can you give us a quick rundown?
Sure. You have Atma, pure spirit, the link to the absolute. Buddhi, the spiritual soul, vehicle of wisdom. Manas, the mind, the thinker.
The triad we mentioned.
Exactly. Then Kama, desire, passion. Prana, the life force, vitality. Linga Sharira, the astral or model body. And finally, Stula Sharira, the physical body.
And the Sutratma holds it all together.
Yes, it's the connecting thread running through them, called the heart of the man plant, Septaparna.
And there's a really crucial distinction made here, isn't there? Between the immortal part and the part that doesn't last.
Absolutely crucial. The spiritual triad, Atma, Buddhi, Manas, that's considered the 3-tongued flame. It's the enduring core of our being, the immortal part.
The flame.
Yes. The lower 4 principles, Kama, Prana, Linga Sharira, Stula Sharira, they are the 4 wicks. They dissolve after death.
So our personalities, our desires, even our life force as we experience it now, they're temporary.
In this view, yes. Our individual personalities, all those traits that define us in this specific life, are described as temporary, elusive envelopes of the immortal monad ego.
Elusive envelopes.
Like fleeting reflections of one moon on rippling water. Only the beams, the eternal spiritual egos, the accumulated wisdom within the triad persists through all the incarnations.
It's a powerful image. The fleeting reflection versus the enduring beam of light. Okay, let's trace that beam. Let's explore the monad's evolutionary journey through the 7 worlds of Maya. Sounds like quite the cosmic adventure.
It really is depicted as a vast, vast journey. The monad, that divine spark, travels through these 7 worlds. Now, these worlds represent both the different planetary globes in our cosmic chain.
Like Earth, Mars, Mercury, but perhaps more subtle versions.
Possibly, yes, the globes of the chain, and also the 7 grand cycles of evolution on this globe, which are known as the rounds.
Okay, so multiple layers of meaning for 7 worlds.
Exactly. And this incredible journey is guided by the finest thread of Fohat. Fohat is essentially cosmic energy, the life thread in its universal aspect, driving evolution forward.
And the journey isn't just spiritual. It goes through different kingdoms of nature. Starting with minerals, that's kind of mind-boggling. Our essence experiencing life is, what, a rock.
It is mind-boggling, but it highlights this core idea that even seemingly inert matter is animated by life at its most fundamental level. The monad has to experience every form. It apparently undergoes a 7-fold gyration within the mineral form, before moving on to the vegetable kingdom, then through all the plant forms, then into the animal kingdom, eventually evolving into what's called a sacred animal, described as the first shadowy outline of physical humanity.
So in a very real sense, our deepest self has been through it all. Rock, plant, animal, on this grand cosmic journey.
That's the perspective, yes. We've gathered experience from every kingdom.
And then Manu, the thinker, humanity as we know it, emerges from the combined attributes and experiences of all those prior kingdoms.
Precisely. Humanity, the thinking being, is seen as the culmination, shaped by the 7 lives and the 1 life. It's a remarkably holistic view.
It really is.
And the text adds more layers, mentioning the role of the 5-fold law, possibly higher spiritual beings in completing humanity. And this really enigmatic phrase, fish, sin, and soma, the moon, perfecting the physical body.
Fish, sin, and the moon. What could that mean?
Well, it likely alludes to very deep, ancient, occult understandings, perhaps involving the fall of spirit into matter, the influence of what are called lunar ancestors, or Pitris, maybe connections to fertility cycles, water, ancient avatars like the fish avatar Matsya. It's complex.
Definitely sounds like layers upon layers of meaning there, adding quite a bit of mystery to the story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's look at the evolution of elements and rounds. You mentioned the 7 worlds of Maya also relate to the rounds.
Yes, they do. The 7 worlds also correspond to the 7 major evolutionary rounds our planet goes through. And in each round, a fundamental element in its noumenal or essential form is developed.
Elements like?
Like fire, air, water, and earth. We're currently in the 4th round, so the element earth is being fully developed on the physical plane.
But these aren't the chemical elements, right? Not H2O for water.
No, exactly. It's crucial to understand these are not the compound elements of modern science. They are their precursors, the underlying principles or states of matter, the essential qualities.
The building blocks behind the building blocks we know.
You could put it that way, yeah. The noumena behind the phenomena.
And this ties back to that idea you mentioned earlier, that all is life, even down to dust.
Exactly. The concept of fiery lives, seen as the most subtle subdivision of matter, pure energy perhaps, and then microbes, viewed as the lowest or densest subdivision on a particular plane. This illustrates the pervasive life force.
Acting as builders and destroyers.
Yes, constructive and destructive forces within all forms, including our own bodies. It's a perspective that sees the material world as inherently alive, dynamic, not just inert stuff.
It certainly shifts your perspective. Now, what about the strengthening thread in this Be With Us Day? Sounds like it relates to our individual progress.
It does. The thread between the silent watcher and his shadow.
The watcher being our higher self, the shadow being us here.
Correct. The watcher is the divine prototype, our individual Dhyan Chohan, the permanent self. The shadow is the reincarnating human personality. That thread, the Sutratma, again, becomes more strong and radiant with every change, meaning with every reincarnation.
So our connection to our higher self strengthens through lifetimes of experience.
That's the idea. Integration happens. And the day Be With Us, or Parinirvana, represents the ultimate culmination of a vast cycle. It's the reunion of the individual spark, the monad, with the universal flame, the absolute.
Merging back into the source.
Yes, during Pralaya, the period of cosmic rest. But importantly, it's described as absolute existence, pure consciousness, not annihilation or extinction.
Amen.
And then after the rest, the monad reemerges to begin the next cycle of manifestation, but as a higher, more evolved being. It's a continuous rhythm of unfolding, resting, and unfolding again at a higher level.
A vast cosmic breath. Okay, finally, Stanza 7 touches upon the reign of the Watchers. Who were they and what was their role?
The Watchers are described as highly evolved spiritual beings, often equated with the Dhyani Buddhas or similar figures in other traditions. According to ancient traditions referenced here, they reigned over early humanity.
As actual rulers, divine kings.
Yes, during the early ages, the Golden Age, or Satya Yuga, They were the primordial teachers, instructing humanity in the arts, sciences, and fundamental spiritual truths.
And where do they come from?
They had completed their own human-like evolution in previous cosmic cycles, previous manvantaras.
Ah, so it's like a system of cosmic mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
Beings who have already graduated step back to teach the next class.
That's a very good analogy. And it connects back to that idea we discussed earlier.
That the elect of our current humanity will become the guides for the next round.
Precisely. It suggests a continuous cyclical passing on of wisdom and responsibility throughout cosmic evolution. Evolution is an ongoing journey, and those further along naturally help guide those following.
Well, this has been an incredibly rich, deep dive into just one stanza. Amazing density of ideas. Just to quickly recap the core points.
Mm-hmm.
We've touched on this hierarchical emanation of all life from a single source, the absolute. The idea of a sevenfold nature for both the cosmos and for us as humans.
Right, the septenary principle.
The principle of cyclic evolution. Everything, constantly learning, growing, resting, reemerging. The monad's immense journey through all the kingdoms.
From mineral to human.
And the significant role attributed to these highly evolved beings, the builders and watchers, in both the genesis of life and the guidance of early humanity.
And hopefully for you listening, this has maybe sparked some aha moments, or at least offered a broader, though yes, admittedly esoteric perspective on existence and maybe our place within it all.
Yeah, it's a framework that definitely offers a unique lens.
Mm-hmm. A different way to consider the universe and perhaps our own inner workings too.
Absolutely. And we've really only scratched the surface, haven't we? These are incredibly deep concepts. There's so many potential connections to other philosophies, religions.
Yeah.
It really invites you to ponder.
It does. Which leads us nicely to a final thought maybe for you to mull over, given the cyclical view of evolution described in the stanza. What might be the next significant step? What could be the next stage in humanity's spiritual or perhaps even material development as we move towards future rounds, future cycles?
What comes after Manu, the thinker? That's definitely something to reflect on.